Now, from the WCCO Live Desk, you're watching CBS News Minnesota.
Hi, good morning. I'm Maria Lazignoli, and it's 10 o'clock live in the WCCO newsroom. I'm here at the Live Desk each weekday morning at this time with live updates and breaking news. Well, this morning, Minnesota House leaders from both parties are sharing new details about a power-sharing agreement struck last night. You're taking a live look now at the state capitol, where Democrats just wrapped up a press conference. We will bring that to you live, but first, we want to take you live to where Republicans are holding a news conference about this power-sharing agreement. Here is what they have to say live from the state capitol.
Well, good morning. Thank you for being here today. We are happy to tell you, as you, I'm sure, have already heard, that there was an arrangement or an agreement to organize the House made last night. We had two negotiating teams, so there is an agreement between Democrats and Republicans to organize the House of Representatives and get to work for the people of Minnesota. With that, I will tell you a little bit, and I know that the agreement is going out today. It was available as of 9 o'clock. Not sure if you've seen it yet, but I just want to tell you what is available in this agreement that we're really pleased about. As you know, Republicans are at 67 members. Democrats, because of an open seat in Roseville, are at 66 members, and the agreement that has been reached definitely reflects that. We will have, I will be the Republican Speaker of the House for the next 2 years. During the time that we have the one-seat majority, there will be Republican chairs in every committee with a one-vote advantage of the membership. If we would return back to a 67-67 tie in the Minnesota House of Representatives, we would then enlist co-chairs and full equal voting of the membership. There is an important committee that we've talked about that I'm very pleased how this came through in the organizational agreement, and that is the Fraud Prevention and Agency Oversight Committee. As you know, there is record fraud in the state of Minnesota, proven with 3 new cases even just last week. This is something that House Republicans have taken very, very seriously, and with that, the committee will be chaired by Representative Kristen Robbins for the entire 2 years. She will be the sole chair. The makeup of that committee will be 5 Republicans and 3 Democrats through the entire 2 years. That is a win for Minnesotans. We know that we need to stop fraud. We have to first identify it, stop it, and move forward with policies, and we are really pleased to be able to bring that forward. So with that, we had a great negotiating team that came in just this week, and that was Majority Leader Niska, Representative Torkelson, Representative Robbins, and Representative Scott. We met with the same offer that you had been seeing from the Democrats for the last more than 2 weeks, since the 13th. They walked in with the same offer on Monday. I think enough started to shift that they decided they needed to become a little bit more serious in their offer, and so that's when negotiations on Tuesday moved a little bit closer together and true conversations could take place. That is why we are standing here with you today. That was signed by our 5 members that were on the team and their negotiators together in the same room. I know a lot of you wondered what was in that room. I saw some of you pacing back and forth and maybe wondering what was taking place. A lot of good, hard discussions. The best negotiations is when not everyone walks out completely happy. But the compromises that were made, having a Republican speaker with very little limitations over the next 2 years, is a huge win for Republicans. It is a huge win for the state of Minnesota. To have fraud not just talked about, but actually addressed and corrected is a huge win for the state of Minnesota, the taxpayers of Minnesota. We have a lot of work to get done. I know Representative Hortman and I have both agreed that we need to get this done for the people of Minnesota on time. That is the intent. Even with Democrats staying out for 23 days, that is the intent that we have going forward, that we will work for the people of Minnesota and get that work done. House Republicans, although we had started and then the Supreme Court decision changed the start that we had to the session, the work never stopped. Our chairs continued to meet with their committee members, with interest groups, with constituents to hear bill proposals, and we're dropping a number of bills today that will be our priority. That work continue to go through. So when you see that first committee hearing that'll start Monday morning at 8:15, that first meeting is going to be the fraud committee. We are ready to go with a full slate. We look forward to working with our Democrat colleagues as they return today to the chamber, and we look forward to getting the work together. Also with me today is Majority Whip, Representative Nash, and has done a lot of work within our caucus too. So with that, if there's anything you want to add, Leader Niska?
Sure, I'll just add a couple of important points on what were important principles that were established in this negotiation. Obviously, in our system, when legislators show up for work, we have elections and we are expected to uphold those election results. And the reality of it is that at any point in time when it was a 67-66 Republican majority, the only outcome of that election was going to be that Lisa Dameth is the speaker. And it's unfortunate that Democrats denied that outcome for several weeks, but that was an important principle that was upheld in this agreement, that election that has to happen when we come together and get organized is going to result in Lisa Dameth being Speaker of the House, and Democrats have accepted that outcome of an election. Again, in the eventual possibility that we get to a 67-67 tied chamber, it was important that we have a structure that would allow the work for the people of Minnesota to get done even in that. And so this agreement brought those two principles together in a way that I think is very important for the way our system is supposed to work, but also the way that our system can work best to make to do the work for the people of Minnesota, stopping fraud, making Minnesota more affordable, improving our public safety, improving our education system by reducing mandates and increasing accountability, by allowing us to build for the future. All of those important priorities that are important to the people of Minnesota that we've heard about, while we also are finding a way to bring together Republicans and Democrats to get the budget done on time, and hopefully without a special session.
Madam Speaker, you made history officially. I don't think you mentioned it. Talk to us why you don't talk about that you're the first person of color that will have this gap.
Sure. It is my honor to have been selected by my caucus to become the Speaker of the House, and then you will see that vote go through on the floor today. Mary, what you're referring to is something that I don't always bring up, but being a black woman and having the opportunity to serve as the first person of color and the first female Republican Speaker of the House is an absolute honor. I have always lived my life in a way that your merits should definitely be what drives the things that you do. And so I first want people to consider the fact that I'm qualified to do the job as Speaker of the House in the state of Minnesota. Secondly, knowing that I am making history on two fronts by being a black woman, the first to hold this position, and then also the first Republican female leader or Speaker of the House is an honor, but I look forward to the day that it will no longer be a surprise or an unusual thing, that those coming behind me will be able to feel like there's no reason why they can't fill these same things if they have the qualifications and the merits that would bring them through.
What was it that moved the needle on this finally? I mean, we heard from the Democrats this is largely the same deal that they had on January 14th. Is that true? And what was it that kind of...
You know, that's a great question, because I have also heard that this seems to be the same deal. As I mentioned earlier, when we came in Monday morning, they really had the same deal that they had been offering since the 13th of January. That was not acceptable. That was Speaker for, they said February 6th, thinking that the special election would be called for. What they were really looking at, though, was the fact that they didn't like the math of the situation. They didn't like the fact that there was an open seat, which only gave them 66 people in the chamber. The other thing is that would have been Speaker and title only. Everything else would have been shared. If we went back to a tie, it would have all been 50-50, the co-speaker model, everything. This is a considerable different offer. Things that move the needle forward, I think the public pressure to know that people could stay out of work for 23 days where they had been elected to come in and serve in the House of Representatives, to just stay back because they didn't like the math of the situation. They were losing in the public perception of that. We do have the court case that would have potentially given us the opportunity to get people back into the session and get back into the chamber to do the work. I think a combination of all of those things, you know, and the other thing is 23 days is a really long time to not do what you've been elected to do. So as you hear from your constituents, just go back. You know, we had heard that maybe 1 or 2 Democrats might come back. I don't know if there was internal pressures on them or not, trying to avoid that, but I think a combination of the length, the public pressure, the pending court case, and the fact that we actually have work to do for Minnesotans, and that timeline is shrinking, all fit together.
You have just been hearing from Minnesota Republicans on that power sharing agreement. Our Caroline Cummings is at this press conference right now. She's going to be joining me in about an hour and a half to break this all down. But earlier this morning, we also heard from state Democrats. So I want you to take a listen to that.
As we announced last night, we have reached an agreement that will allow us to move forward today with organizing the Minnesota House of Representatives. The full agreement will be posted soon. But in short, Democrats secured the power sharing agreement we were seeking. Most importantly, Brad Tabke will be seated. Election contests will go to the Ethics Committee, and 68 votes will be required to create a vacancy. Brad Tabke won on election night, he won in a recount, and he won in court. This agreement upholds the will of the voters as expressed in a free and fair election. While they have a one-seat advantage, Republicans will chair the committees. When we are tied, we will have co-chairs and equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans on all the committees, with the exception being the Oversight Committee, which will have a GOP chair and a GOP majority. Leader Dameth will be Speaker for 2 years, but with some limitations that align with our closely divided House and soon to be tied. House DFLers will be in the chamber today to provide a quorum, and committees will begin their work on Monday. This agreement honors and protects the will of the voters both in Shakopee and statewide. That is what Democrats have been asking for from the beginning, and I'm pleased that this agreement does that. Given the situation we faced, with Republicans looking to engage in an illegitimate power grab, Democrats made the difficult decision to deny quorum to protect the will of the voters, and we succeeded. That it took nearly 4 weeks to reach this agreement is regrettable and was unnecessary. This agreement is essentially the same as the last offer I put on the table on Monday, January 13th, including conceding the speakership. We could have avoided all of this, honored the will of the voters, and started in a bipartisan, collaborative fashion from day one. With that said, though, I would like to express my gratitude for all of the members of the final negotiating team on both sides of the aisle. It was really great to be in a room together with Representative Torkelson, Representative Scott, Representative Niska, Representative Robbins, Leader Dameth, Representative Stevenson, Representative Hollins, Representative Long, Representative Gomez. And I think it was all of us being in the room together. There were some moments of levity. There were some legislative jokes. There were some conflict-oriented jokes. And that got us to the place where we could get this bipartisan agreement. Prior to this conflict, I publicly stated that this tie gives us a golden opportunity to show that bipartisan governing can work. And even though we had these rough few weeks, we can turn the page now, and we have an opportunity to really show Minnesotans that we can govern together in a collaborative way. The 2024 election made clear that Minnesota is a very closely divided state, and I think that we can make this arrangement work for them. We are set up for success in this agreement. Democrats will continue working alongside Minnesotans to build a future where everyone can get ahead, not just the rich and powerful. We will continue to stand up for Minnesotans' rights and freedoms, and we will do all we can to protect them from the chaos, cruelty, and incompetence coming from the Trump administration. We're looking forward to getting the session properly, lawfully underway today. The speaker must take up all the bills on the calendar for the day set by the Rules Committee, which will be tied and co-chaired under the tie. Signed conference committee reports will be taken up. We'll have shared decision-making on all House administrative and nonpartisan functions. And for the purposes of both floor and committee, each caucus leader may excuse their own members and approve remote participation.
Good morning, everyone. If Democrats had attended the first day of session without an agreement, the GOP, we know, would have kicked out Representative Tabke and would have attempted to take full control of the chamber for 2 years, even though the voters sent a tie. This agreement honors the voters of Shakopee and honors the voters of Minnesota who sent a tie to the Minnesota House. Rather than an attempt at one-party control, which would have led to a perpetual power struggle, we are optimistic that this framework sets up opportunities for our members to work together on a bipartisan basis on issues that we all care about, like affordable housing, affordable health care, affordable child care, and more.
So you have now heard from Republicans and Democrats about this power sharing agreement. There's a lot of information to parse through, and that's exactly what WCCO's Kirsten Mitchell and Caroline Cummings are doing today. So Kirsten will have a live report for you in our news at noon, but just a half hour before that, Caroline Cummings is going to join me live from the Capitol to really help break this all down, so you will not want to miss that. In other news today, we found out that people are just talking less. Very interesting, and we will tell you why. But first, the economy is a big focus in President Trump's administration, and small businesses in the Twin Cities are hoping to benefit. Derek James spoke with a business owner about the opportunities ahead.
The economy hasn't been kind to small businesses.
Things cost more, and that means I have to charge more and I have to sell more just to stay flat.
Barrick Awend runs American Drapery Systems in Golden Valley, his family's 47-year-old business.
This is our flexible track product that we make here.
They also supply commercial window coverings and blackout curtains.
What do you need most right now to remain competitive and to also grow the business?
We really need some help from policymakers. Okay, I got you. Here we go.
Awend is a member of Goldman Sachs' 10,000 Small Business Voices. The group partnered with the Bipartisan Policy Center to ask Congress and the White House to level the playing field for small businesses.
It'd be really helpful to simplify the tax code, and we need help to be able to grow our staff.
They've developed a policy playbook with 3 key recommendations. First, competing for qualified workers. Offer tax credits for retirement, paid family leave, affordable child care, and skills training to help smaller businesses compete with larger corporations. Removing financial barriers. Increase access to capital, provide small business tax incentives, and reduce red tape. Finally, sparking growth. Investment in technology and AI to help small businesses compete for federal contracts and access capital for manufacturing and export. Awend says these common sense solutions would give him the resources and access to capital to thrive.
And I can help develop employees. I can help make sure that they enjoy coming to work. I can help make an environment where we can innovate and find new tools so that we can sell different products online so that we can grow.
In Golden Valley, Derek James, WCCO News.